you go ahead and call on people?
All right, let me unmute myself so I can get this right. So, okay, I think we have David Ridings from Rockwood here. He's here. There we go. Seth, go ahead and introduce yourself and your club. See if he's still here though. So, oh, he's on mute. Let's unmute him here. Okay, he's on mute, but
Hey, Larry Phipps over here in Grundy County.
okay, Larry's here. Okay, Ivan.
How many years in Rotary, Larry?
Yeah.
It's about 6 years now.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name's Ivan Jones. I'm with the Rotary Club of Shelbyville, and I'm on my 20th year of being a Rotarian.
Thank you, Ivan.
Okay, let's see. Eric.
Yes,
Name, club, years in Rotary.
I'm Eric Carpenter. I'm with Morristown AM. And, it's been about 5 or 6 years, I guess.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Christy.
I am Christy Driver, and I've been in Rotary here in DeKalb County, Smithville, for about 3 years.
And that's the Smithville Club, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Dr. Tim.
Tim Bell. I'm in the Kingston Rotary Club. I've been in the club for, I think, 4 years.
Okay. Okay, Seth, we got you off mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties. I lost you all there for a second. But I'm Seth Dillahay. I'm with Smith County Noon Rotary out of Carthage, Tennessee. And this is going on my 3rd year as a Rotarian.
Okay. All right, and I think we got Dr. Jerry on here.
Yeah, Franklin County AM Rotary. And I've been a Rotary since around 1989.
All right, so I'm just gonna put down long time. Okay.
Yeah, it's just so far back I can't remember. So.
Jerry, you've been in Rotary as long as I've been born.
Suddenly I feel so old, you know?
Hey, I'm still young. So
Hey,
ain't that old.
Rotary keeps you young. You have to remain young, you know.
Yes. That's key.
Okay, and we have one assistant governor with us tonight, Linda.
I am with Tullahoma Sunrise, and I was trying to think how long I've been. I think 15 to 16 years I've been in Rotary.
Okay. Kind of like me. Okay, who we're missing tonight, Debbie, in case we're keeping score. Jefferson City, Rogersville, and Carthage are not here, so let's go ahead and proceed.
Hey, thank you all. So we
go ahead.
have a wide variety of numbers of years of experience. I do want to go over a couple of guidelines before we get started. I don't know if you've noticed that there is some background noise. So unless you're ready to speak, it would be super if you would mute yourself. The way you do that is down, at least on my computer, on the very left bottom of the screen, it shows a microphone. And if you click on it, it'll have a nice little red line across it showing that you're muted. And then you just unclick it when you want to talk. One of the things, I've done a lot of Zoom meetings. I didn't tell you that I actually am a teacher at the university. So we've been doing Zoom meetings since the kids have not been in class at all. And one of the hardest things for all of us is how to figure out when you can actually speak without interrupting somebody else. So just try hard not to interrupt if someone else is talking. A great big point is to be sure and share your ideas. There is nobody in this group that can be called an expert. And so everybody's opinion's important. And with that said, let's all try to be really respectful to each other's ideas as well, and it'll be a great session. So tonight, as we talk about roles and responsibilities, we're going to talk about how to prepare during your PE year, and you guys are nearly at the end of it. Skills that you'll need as a club president, and ways that you can create or help create as a club president a very engaging club experience. And of course, that topic is going to be a bit different with all our online meetings now. So I'm interested in hearing that discussion as well. Okay. Now, during this session, you are going to do most of the talking. I'm going to be asking questions and kind of guiding the conversation, but other than that, the floor is yours. So as you think about being a Rotary Club president next year, if you would each think of one responsibility you could share, and then we'll go back around if there are others. Who would like to start? I might have to call my very own club president, Tim Bell. Would you start us off?
We're on the same page. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is to organize and oversee the weekly meetings. You want more?
Yeah. So what all would you include in oversee weekly meetings?
Well, I haven't been in the preparation of each meeting, but watching what the other presidents have done, you know, I've seen that they are organizing the conversation of the day, you know, presenting and presiding over our pledge and our prayer and our introduction of the guests in the room, and making sure that everybody has the things that they need, and if there's any information that's new, you know, for the day, making sure that everybody has an opportunity to present those ideas, and then our club meeting. And I think, you know, with our club president, John, he's very organized in that he works all that out ahead of time, and making sure that all the club members are able to communicate with each club member, and identifying what their goals are for the year, and then you know, following up on that as the year goes along, and then basically the communicating with each one of the members and making sure that we are able to coordinate our functions through our committees.
Yeah.
I have a
Thank you. Go ahead.
May I go ahead? May I proceed?
Yes.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
One of the things is to make sure that we all have fun, because Rotary was founded on fellowship, and it's important for us to help maintain a rapport with the individual members, and that is done in part, I believe, by delegating. Once we have decided on a course of action or goals and what we would like to accomplish, is to make sure that we include everybody in that program by delegating and improving our end result in that manner. I believe that's kind of an important one.
I would agree. Thank you. Who's next?
Debbie, we have a chat from David Ridings in the Rockwood Club that says, grow our club.
Grow our clubs. Anybody else in the room think we ought to grow our clubs?
I don't see enough hands up on that one.
I don't either. And
Hey,
maybe
Debbie.
your club is giantly big and you're fine with how big you are. Who's speaking? Go ahead.
Debbie, it's Eric from Morristown AM. Back to where Jerry had just talking about having fun. You know, one of those responsibilities as well, I believe, is to make sure that we're encouraging participation from all of our members, and making sure that all those ideas, as diverse as they are included and are heard in order to broaden our base as much as we can within our local spheres.
Agreed.
I heard one agree. I see lots of heads nodding. Other responsibilities. We talked about delegating. We talked about you running a meeting. Are there other people that you need to work very closely with?
You mean in terms of officers in the club or individuals, or?
You take that in whatever direction you want to.
I would say maintaining an adequate level of communication with the officers is of course quite important. But to validate further or elaborate a little bit on David's point, one of the things that helps you retain members, I believe, is making sure that everybody has a chance to participate and that everyone is included. And insofar as growing the club, I would venture to guess that most of the Rotary clubs, a lot of the service organizations really need to work as diligently as we can to help attract other members. We're sort of in an unusual situation, I guess, in that we would like to have plenty of participation, but we want people to join the club that are sincere about the values and objectives that we have, particularly the service above self motto. And that's the kind of individual we'd like to attract. And I guess I would say we constantly need to be working on that. That's an ongoing thing.
Thank you. Other ideas?
I think the president has to work very closely with the club treasurer in establishing and managing the budget. The expectation of our club also is that the president make a yearly calendar trying to schedule those days that we meet and when we not meet, planning for club assemblies and making sure that somebody's assigned to get speakers.
I'll tell you, Ivan, one of the, and everyone else, one of the most interesting things I've encountered insofar as speakers, we love to have guest speakers, but some of the most enjoyable programs that we have had have come out of our assemblies. For instance, in our club, Dieter Nowak, the president, current president, one day it was his turn to talk about his life, and it was absolutely amazing, the man's background. His life during the war in Germany when he was just a child of like 5 or 6 years old, and many things that the rest of us just didn't really realize about Dieter. And it was a fascinating program. And sometimes that's the way it works. The people that we're sitting next to and think we know, we really don't know as much about them as we could. And it's good to learn. We got some really neat people in Rotary.
Great point. Other thoughts?
Deborah, I have lost my big screen and my ability to mute myself. I don't know why.
Ron, can you mute? Can you go ahead and mute maybe?
I'll see what I can do with, if I can do individuals or
If
not.
you're very
Hang on.
quiet, it won't matter.
Yeah.
My dishwasher's running and I hope nobody's hearing that.
If you see me gesticulating wildly, that means I have something to say, okay?
Got it. Got it. Okay. Other thoughts about what your responsibilities are? Do any of you feel like there are changes that could possibly be made in your club that would make your members happier?
Well, I do. For our club, we are super small, and I'm really a baby at this. And I feel like in Smithville that I am responsible for building it from the ground up, rebuilding it, because we just have very few members. There were even discussions of not continuing. So it's a huge responsibility to, so if I'm quiet a lot, I'm taking a lot in, trying to learn as I go, and I take it seriously. So just finding some local interest, recruiting new members for us, and it's a challenge, definitely. So any support that I can have would be most welcome.
Thank you. We happen to have in our group Ivan Jones, who works with our visioning committee for the district. And so if any of you would like to sit down with your club members and take a look at where you are and where you'd like to be in the next 5 years, he would be a great contact. And we'll put you in touch with him. But visioning is a wonderful thing. Probably about half of our clubs have been through it, and several clubs have gone through a second time. I can say for Kingston, my club, it really helped us focus our efforts. We discovered we were all about young people. We had just never really thought about that before. And so with the monies that we do raise, it makes it easier for us to make hard choices about what to spend those funds on to do better things. So a commercial for visioning. Let's talk just a little bit about what you can do between now and the end of the year, the end of the Rotary year, before you take over as Rotary Club President. What are the things, and you've talked about several of them, what are the things that you want to go ahead and try to do now so that you have a head start on next year?
This is Tim. I was just looking on my computer for a list of educational videos for Rotary. I'm an audio-visual learner, so I look for opportunities to hear discussions. If I hear it one time, I pretty much have it, but if I have to read it, I'll probably read it 6 or 7 times. I may not be able to tell you where I read it. So there is some opportunities, and I believe it is at my Rotary. And I'm gonna not look up, I'll look for it again in a few minutes. But anyways, it's learning about all the opportunities that we have, or learning about all of the resources that we have. I don't have a problem organizing people and managing day-to-day routines, and I really don't have a problem brainstorming and trying to come up with ideas. But you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You don't want to start all over again and try to collect these ideas or come up with ways of doing things when they're already there, because Rotary's been around a long time and each club has already done it, probably. So with the technology that we have, we're moving into some new areas that we may not have thought about before. And we probably need to be learning more about how to use those. Just simple things like, I know my phone works better than my laptop when it comes to condensing this data stream, and being able to access the information that we have at our disposal is tremendous. I think that's going to be a huge tool that we can prepare for in the next month or two to get ready for the next year.
Great idea. Check out the resources. And while you're there, you might want to take a look. So do all of you have My Rotary accounts? Have you all set up for My Rotary? If you haven't, I would go ahead and do that now. The trick to it is that sometimes you have multiple email addresses, and you may need to check and see which email address your club secretary put in for you when they submitted your Rotary member information. If you have an issue, it's usually because there's a different email address there. But it's very easy to do if you need help. I'm sure that your assistant governor or many other people will be able to help you with that. And while we're talking about that, one of the things, have you all thought about your goals for next year? And do you know what areas you want to set those goals in?
Tim again. We have a very small club, and I say very small because I don't know what to compare it to, other than I think it's important not to get each member like doing one thing and everybody trying to work together, because burning out or doing the same thing over and over again, trying to carry on that responsibility by yourself is what causes people to throw their hands up and say, I don't want to do this anymore. So looking at our goals, one is to maintain the projects that we have already put in place and support the people that are in charge of those projects. And then two is to find new members that are going to be good Rotarians. And I think the focus on that is service above self. Somebody mentioned it earlier today, and I think that is a personality trait that you have to look for in how they run their businesses and how they are in the community. Because if everything they do has to have something as a reward for themselves, then that's not the attitude that we're looking for. And you can fill your club up with members, but they won't be sticking around very long. So we have to really be careful about that strategy as far as finding new members. But my focus is going to be on maintaining the projects as high quality as we have, and then focusing on new membership.
Thank you, Tim. What about others? How many of you want to focus on membership?
Morristown AM is small as well, and so we have that same goal to a plus one or two members this year would be really big for us. And so I'm hoping that that we can start engaging multiple different industries and businesses and things we've not looked at, maybe or areas where we do not have members that represent those areas in our community, to kind of reach out into that area to bring them in. Because even like I say, if we were to go plus one or two, that would really be a big move for us. So it may be a small bite for some other clubs, but that would really be a thing for us. But we, if we've got a club of 10 and 9 of them are all coming from the same type of manufacturing area, not that that's bad. We welcome those 9 as well. But I think that goes back to a comment that was made a little earlier about making sure that we have diversity of ideas in our clubs locally, so that we're able to serve better those folks around us by having different ideas and different skill sets and different backgrounds that go into that as we begin service projects wherever they land.
Right. And I forgot to mention earlier, this group of president-elects, the clubs range in size from 8 to 19. So all of you are fairly small, some smaller than others. Our Kingston club is kind of right in the middle with 13. So I think that we probably all have some similar issues with membership and trying to find quality members. And that's a really good segue into the next part of this discussion. So do you think if you had an engaging club experience that it might be easier to first to attract members and second to engage them and keep them? And then secondly, and you've already talked about several things that have to do with membership and making your clubs more attractive to current members and new members, but let's talk about some of those things that you think that you might be able to do.
Debbie, I know that one of the things I'm going to try to do the next 2 months is to contact all the members and really kind of get some feedback from them. What are their interests? What projects are they desiring to be involved in, and what committee they might be willing to serve on. Yeah, that is an important element, is trying to match their interests and what they think are important projects for the club to do to keep them engaged through the year.
I have a thought on that subject, if I may.
Go ahead.
One of the things I have suggested that we do in the coming weeks is to take a look at our community and assess as best we can the situation for multiple entities, the businesses, services, and whatnot, that have suffered a really serious economic setback, business setback, because of the coronavirus. And if we can do anything to assist those people, whether it's a big thing or little, at least if we're there offering some degree of encouragement and trying to understand what their situation is, maybe in some way we can be of help that way. But I think we need to take a realistic look at the situation, revise our expectations according to what we find, and try to be versatile and flexible in coming up with ways to assist the various people that we encounter, the various businesses and everything, if we can. It may be kind of, honestly, may be kind of a frustrating situation, because I'm not sure exactly how much or what we can do, but sometimes just letting people know that you care and you're trying, maybe that's helpful in itself.
You
Debbie,
know,
let me-
it seems to me that one of the things that, go ahead. Oh, okay. It seems to me that one of the things we're really is taking credit when credit is due, because we feel like that we do things not for the recognition, but to help other people. But sometimes we might think about how it's important for our community to know that things that we do and that we can step in and help in that exact kind of situation that you're talking about, that
Yes.
we're there to help them.
Yes.
And
Well, the other
that's
thing
a
I would,
difficult, go
yeah.
ahead.
The other thing that I would add to that, Debbie, is simply that the service above self motto, doing good is fun. And so we invite people who can, to whatever extent possible, enjoy doing some of the good things. And I believe that attracting that kind of person is key to retaining members and keeping the club going. People you enjoy interacting with, and that that have, as Timothy and Ivan were saying a minute ago in their comments, people that want to do some good things. That in itself is fun and part of the fellowship.
Agreed. Now, when you were talking about responsibilities of the president, I made a few notes. Tim said have fun. Jerry said delegate. David was talking about growing our clubs. There was comments about everyone can participate and be included. Eric talked about encouraging participation from all members, keep them involved. Having good programs, including your assistants, making them fun. Having Rotarians talk about their lives so that you can get to know them even better. There were many, many ideas that you came up with for your duties as a club president that relate to this very topic. I think you all clearly see how important it is. What I'd like us to turn our attention to now is it going to be different with club meetings and engaging members and attracting new members when we're meeting online and we don't know how long that's going to go on? What are your clubs doing now, and what are you thinking about for next year, just in case we still have some barriers in place to meeting face-to-face?
Before I comment on that, let me tell you that this green drink that you see me occasionally taking a sip of is really horrible. It's one of the worst I've ever. It's probably one of the more nutritious, but anyway, pardon me for doing that. But back to our question at hand. Remind me where we're headed on this. What are we trying to answer?
We're comparing the way you might have, how it might have worked for your club when you were doing face-to-face meetings earlier this current year, as versus how it may work for your club if face-to-face meetings don't occur again for a while, and how you can adjust to that, and what you're currently doing now as well.
We've had good, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think, Debbie, maybe we ought to ask somebody like Seth, who is a current president who's serving a second term, how he's dealing with things now and how he sees things coming forward. So, Seth, I'm going to volunteer you to start this off.
Great idea.
Hey, guys. Yeah, be glad to expound upon that a little bit. And something's wrong. I don't know what's going on with my video. It's in and out. So I don't know if you guys can see me or not. But anyway, so obviously, you know, we've had a lot of strategy type conversations I and the other officers have. And Ron, I know you and I talked about this a little bit, but we had a club president-elect chosen, you know, or we're seeking after, you know, that goal of getting her ready to go when all this kind of happens. So it's given us a lot more opportunity to think and kind of go back to the drawing board to how we're going to be able to, you know, continue on with these, or not only just our regular meetings, even the community involvement that we have and all the reach out programs that we do. And one in particular, we've got a scholarship program that we do for the two county high schools here locally that, you know, it's resorted to Zoom meetings and the biggest thing, or at least our hurdle in our club, and with us all being relatively small, is some of the technology barriers that our older members have. You know, we're running into that quite a bit with and I say older members, that's probably the majority of our membership, that either, you know, it's not that they don't have access, they don't understand how that formatting works, or they maybe not have a proper setup, you know, at wherever their place of business or their home may be to adequately, you know, engage like we need to be engaged in these online meetings. So that's something that we've tried to, you know, talk about and think about. And I really think one of those, one of the scenarios that I've kind of thought a little outside of the box on is the mere fact of having, maybe an online training session, available to the members of understanding how to work some of this stuff and use some of these tools that we're obviously going to have to start using. It seems like with this COVID-19, as bad as we hate it, it just kind of is. And I think it's really produced a difficult position for Rotary in general, just for the mere fact of what we do and what we believe in and how we like to engage. I'm kind of up for discussion there, or getting more ideas from everybody else of how they're going to combat that. Because we're really stuck and not being able to implement, our true identity as Rotarians in our community, just because we can't get involved with anybody. You can't see anybody face to face. We can still give money and we can still write out scholarships and do all that, but it's just a piece that's missing that it's hard to replace, when you're an organization like we are. So those are type things that we're trying to figure out, how we can combat that and come full circle to still keep on going, like we want to be, and still be personified in the community as, as the true givers and helpers and the believers that we are and what we're doing. So,
Seth, one of the things that we're doing is a Rotary Minute, we call it, which is actually a call-in to one of the local radio stations. And we'll talk a little bit about Rotary and what's going on with us, hoping that will help improve our public profile a little bit, as Deborah was talking about a few minutes ago. And there is one kind of good thing about the current situation, and that is it's dragging us kicking and screaming, whether we like it or not, into unnecessary engaging with the technology. Maybe that's good. Maybe we'll develop some more synapses in the brain as a result. But we do feel like that we're missing something and not being able to meet in person. But in the meantime, maybe we can cultivate some of the technology and get better at it than we would have otherwise.
Sure. And don't get me wrong when I say this. It's obviously taken every member every step of the way to make Rotary International what it is now, and it takes everybody working together for a common goal. But I think to touch on the technology note that you mentioned, it was something and I'll end with this and let somebody else talk. But as far as growing membership is concerned, and the way that me being a younger Rotarian and understanding how my generation and even generations younger than me are, going about their daily lives nowadays, as far as too fast to slow down and talk to anybody or anything from a face-to-face standpoint, or even heck, some people don't even know how to shake hands anymore. Let's face it. This is a great opportunity to understand and learn these new outlets and maybe reach a whole lot younger demographic. So, and maybe grow membership that way. That's been an idea of ours as well.
Seth, if I could make one quick comment about that, one of the things that we have attempted to do is to reach a younger audience, and that's where we came up with the crazy idea of this drone race. Werner Nowak, our past president, is an expert, and I mean an expert drone pilot. And we came up with that as a means of not only raising the public profile, but attracting some of the younger members, we think. And we have tried to incorporate drone training into the local high school as sort of another venue. Anyway, we've had some fun with that. So that's one of the things we have attempted that may ultimately pay off.
No, that's great. That's great feedback. Appreciate the insert, and it definitely spawns ideas. We've got a member that is he actually uses, you talking about drones, he uses one in his daily work. So it's definitely, I think there's probably opportunity there, well aware to be mentioned, and on our side. So thanks for that.
We keep talking about maybe needing to invest in a club jetpack, or club powered parachute or something.
Sure.
Oh, well, just
Sure.
crazy fun.
Never know.
I just checked the chat, and David Writings from Rockwood said that online may be a great way to have an interest meeting before someone actually decides to come eat with you later, whenever, and that you can have them any time of day when you do that as well. Any other thoughts on this challenge of moving to more of an online kind of meeting?
Just a
Go
thought.
ahead.
This is Tim. I'm immediate past president of the Tennessee Osteopathic Medical Association, and we had our first virtual convention at the 1st of April. And actually, when you looked at the numbers, it came out better because we had more participants than we would have anticipated in a live convention. And we were able to get speakers from different areas that couldn't travel to our meeting place in the town that we were meeting in. And the cost of all the food and the whole cost of the convention was down. We didn't have any sponsors, people who usually are in a exhibit hall exhibiting their wares. We didn't have any of them. That money was not there, but then we actually didn't need it because of the cost of the convention. So when everything panned out, we actually had more participants, and that was the biggest thing because of the ease of access to be able to have that convention online. And we never anticipated that. We thought we were going to lose, money tremendously this year. So that worked out pretty well. And so this could be an opportunity to be able to have meetings at times that might be a little more convenient, but or maybe even alternate the meetings so that they're not always on the same day, but given the opportunity to be able to meet and people that would log into a meeting versus traveling to parking, coming in and spending the time and then coming back. And then the third thing was that the meetings are a little bit more efficient in that everybody's aware of the time and they get everything talked about they need to talk about. And so it isn't as much fellowship as it would be if we were person to person. So those are my comments on that.
Other thoughts? Christy, how do you plan to handle that? Christy, did you hear me?
Yeah, she may be trying to unmute. Let me see.
What it looks like.
We're having a technical, for some reason, she's not unmuted.
We are
so.
having technical issues. Our club started out saying we were going to do virtual meetings every 2 weeks. And for the last month or so, well, not that long, but the last 3 weeks anyway, we've met every week. But part of that was because we wanted to do something to support our community for COVID, just as you said earlier, Jerry. And so we've talked to different people, pulled our community together, and tried to figure out the best way that we could help. How about the rest of you? Do your club members like the online meetings? Except, of course, the ones that don't have computers are an issue, and we have to figure that out. But other than that, people seem to enjoy at least being able to see each other once a week.
Debbie, our club has done the same. We finally had 2 virtual meetings. I think for us, it was more to just touch base with each other, make sure all the families and people were well. What I found was interesting is the questions about the members and their particular career or professions, how the coronavirus was affecting what they were doing, et cetera, et cetera. So it really ended up a program in itself, very educational, because one of our folks does work at the hospital. So that was rather enlightening. Um, we decided that probably right now, not having one every week may be a little redundant, but it does give you an opportunity to do some creative things. I know one of our members did it as a program in face, but it would work quite well in a virtual meeting. Just asked some general questions and got everybody's feedback, like what's the most farthest you've traveled, what country, and where'd you go, what'd you like, et cetera, et cetera. And, they're little icebreaker activities that really give you an opportunity to get to know each other better. Someone spoke earlier in a meeting. You can have a speaker get up or a member get up and talk about their life, but there's creative ways to kind of get that information out there also. And so if I can see us, if we have to extend virtual meetings over a long period of time, we're just going to have to do some really creative, fun things to do. But primarily checking on everybody and also asking, are we aware of any needs in the community that we can service as a club as well? The place we meet, they're not doing well, obviously, because it's a restaurant. So we've tried each member to make sure we order carry out at least once or twice a week to kind of keep them going. And they have been appreciative of that, but it's, again, we're a small club, so we're not helping a lot, but at least we're helping a little.
Sure. Thank you, Ivan. Any other thoughts on this particular topic before we move on? I want to direct your attention to a document that Ron sent out to you as an attachment. It's the Club President Checklist for Success. So it's divided into basically quarters from the fourth quarter of this Rotary year through your year as president. And it talks about some of the things that you will want to think about during each one of those quarters. So I would recommend that you take a look at that just to refresh your memory about things that you might want to be doing at certain times of the year. I want to close my part with just a reminder not to forget to celebrate everything that happens, even the little things. And don't wait till just the end of the year to celebrate the year-long accomplishments. There are lots of things that go on throughout the year that are very deserving of celebration. And that's part of having fun too. So please try to continue to have fun, celebrate individual accomplishments as well as club accomplishments. I want to thank you for your attention. This has been an interesting format to do the training, and I appreciate you very much sticking with me. Ron would like to talk to all of us just a bit now before we let you go. Ron?
All right. Thank you, Debbie. Well, first of all, let's all give kind of a virtual clap to Debbie and thank her for leading us in this effort here. She was the guinea pig, so to speak, in terms of getting to start things off. I see that David has sent a chat clap, so thank you, David, for that. Just two or three things I would want to say to kind of wrap up some of the things I've heard and maybe some ideas to kind of pass along. Number one, this is a really good time to be building your team. If you haven't set your club board for next year, you need to be doing that now. Don't wait until we have another meeting, or don't wait till July 1st. Get your board set. Get your committees assigned if you have committees. Now, we're talking about smaller clubs, so a lot of us don't have committees, and I understand that. But if you do have some committees, or certainly heads of committees or individuals, get those, especially those key people, identified and get them talking to you about things that need to happen. If you haven't started your budget process, you probably ought to start that as well. Now, I understand that we are all a little bit uncertain about what we're going to do with our fundraisers, depending upon when we have our fundraisers normally and what COVID might due to that. So I know it's a little bit risky with that, but I think you still need to be thinking and talking about that. Number three, when you think about new members, don't forget to look at the classification system. And I think one of you made a reference to this earlier. Now, I'm going to use our club as an example. We went more than 10 years without a real estate person in our club. And we have, 40 members. Well, you need to have a real estate person in your club because that's the person who knows everybody new coming into town, knows what's going on all around. And yet we didn't have one for over a decade. And to me, that's just sort of, what are we thinking, right? We don't use that classification too much anymore, but that's a way you can use it to take a look at what are we, who are we missing? We think we've got everybody identified and we think we know everybody, but sometimes just looking at what people do can give us an idea of places to look. We are very much, as Seth pointed out, and thank you, Seth, that Rotary is a people organization. And we are looking at a very challenging few months ahead of us. But the one thing I will remind all of us of, and you'll hear me talk about this more than once, I'm sure, over the next few weeks, is this is a temporary situation. We're going to get through this. It may take months. It may take a year. We don't know, but we'll get through it. I mean, we have to consider that we have the best scientific minds in the world working on this. The best scientific minds in the world. And the ability that we have to do this now compared to, Jerry, let's say back to when polio was first starting, our scientific and medical ways of looking at things are just so much better that we will get through this. But until that, I always will urge everyone to just be calm and flexible. Yes, Rotarians are people of action, but we sometimes have to be calm and flexible. So I'm still excited about what's going to happen next year. I think I had a chance to look at everybody here except maybe, Seth, obviously, because you didn't know you were going to get to serve a second term as the club president, but I got a chance to see every one of you at one of the pets orientations. And to me, that was a great blessing. Because, I can look each of you in the eye and say, I know that you guys are going to be great. This could be, as far as I'm concerned, the best presidential class ever. Of course, Debbie would probably argue with that. I think every governor thinks they have to have the best incoming class of presidents. But I'm really excited about our year. We do have a good thing we can work with. I mean, when Holger came up with Rotary Opens Opportunities, he had no idea what kind of opportunities we'd be talking about. I mean, who would have ever guessed what was going to happen? But we will make things work very well. Tomorrow, District Governor Greg and I are the weekly program for our district meeting, and we'll be talking about some guidance from Rotary about COVID and some changes in the district calendar and things like that. So if you have time tomorrow, you might want to catch up on that. I mean, you'll be hearing about that again, of course, over the next 2 or 3 weeks. But if you get a chance, tune in tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central Time on Facebook. Again, thank you, Debbie. Thank you, President-elects. Thank you, Linda, for being in here with us. And as I will say many times, thank you for serving, not only serving your club, but for serving your communities and your families. So please stay safe, be healthy, and stay positive. We're going to get through this. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.